friends. Welcome back to the Sioux Coach Cast with Jim Glogowski. I'm Chad Birger. I'm going to be joined today by my co-host Sam Dooyema, where we are going to recap the Cougars' big win in game number 7 of the 2024 season, and then preview the upcoming matchup against Minnesota Duluth. So, before we begin, let's welcome in Sam and Coach. Hey guys, how we doing today?
Good. Awesome Monday, man.
We are kind of talking before the show here, but man, what a difference a couple weeks makes. You know, Coach, 5-2 now. Everything's looking good on the Cougar front. How you feeling this morning?
Feel good. Yeah. I mean, like I said, man, the breakfast pizza at Casey's tastes a little bit better. It was a little bit brisk out this morning. Fall is in the air. I got my Carhartt t-shirt on. So, life is good.
All righty. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what happened in the game on Saturday. Sam, I'll kind of let you lead the charge here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chad. And as mentioned, we got a Victory Monday here on the CougCast today. And USF scoring a 35-21 victory over the Golden Bears of Concordia St. Paul. Kind of a sluggish first half between the two teams. 0-0 after the first quarter. Each team gaining a touchdown there in that second quarter. It was 7-7 at the half. The fireworks kind of started up there in the third and fourth quarter, and was a one touchdown game at one point in the fourth quarter, even though the 35-21 score kind of makes it look like it was never in doubt. We'll break down the scoring here in a minute, but at the end of the day, Sioux doing what they need to do, moving to 5-2 overall, 4-2 in the conference. And we're going to break down that scoring a little bit here and recap the game with Coach. So as I mentioned, no scores in the first quarter, 0-0. Jalen Richardson kind of was the playmaker we talked about last week for the Bears that we had to kind of keep an eye on. And Concordia kind of kicked it off with a following 11-play, 66-yard drive, 7-minute time of possession. That was kind of the key to that first half there. I know for a while there, I was like, man, this feels like Minot all over again. I think coaches probably be able to speak to that. But we had a big answer there by a Cam Dean long 49-yard run. Nick Hernandez tied it up there with his extra point. And we were able to go into the half there at 7-7.
All right, Coach, let's bring you back in here. First half, USF won the coin toss. You know, Tom Frederick's probably going to grill you about this later this week. But you guys won. You chose to defer. And, Concordia received. They took that opening kickoff, and they held the first possession of the first quarter for about 8 minutes. Ended up not scoring on that one, but what did that kind of do to set the tone for the first half?
Well, it's funny. We kind of talked about, actually, I talked to Tom this week about the coin toss and what ends up happening and all that kind of stuff. And I think, the weird part about the coin toss, and I don't know, I wish I had a better explanation, but I don't know what's good or bad. I don't know if it's good to defer. I think sometimes you think that, but the way the games have gone this year with the limited amount of possessions, maybe you want to take the ball first. So we actually had talked about taking the ball first, because obviously Andy had to sit the first half, and maybe that gives us a little bit less time on defense. But I certainly didn't expect them to have the ball that long. We went back and watched the film with the guys after the game, and obviously there were some opportunities to get off the field sooner. But, all in all, give those guys a lot of credit at Concordia. They did a nice job, a good game plan of kind of, using Jalen Richardson to kind of pound the interior, and then the quarterback got loose a couple times on third down. And I think he was probably a little bit more elusive than maybe we gave him credit for coming into the game. And, of course, we knew that the tailback was a big kid that ran really hard, and they were good up front, and the tight ends were physical. But, I think he ended up with less than 100 yards rushing on 20-some carries. So going into the game, if you said, hey, listen, you're going to hold him under 100 yards, I would have felt pretty good about the outcome.
Yeah, Coach. Then, your offense comes out, first possession, goes 3 and out. Concordia drives, again, doesn't get a score. And then you essentially have your fourth offensive play, the very last play of the first quarter. So your offense only had the ball for 4 offensive plays that first quarter.
Crazy. I mean, it's crazy. Going back to the Minot game, it's like, geez, what is going on? I don't know if I've ever been a part of 2 games in a season where, you have the ball for literally 4 or 5 snaps in the first quarter, and that's on us, right? We didn't convert the first down and all that kind of stuff. We weren't able to maintain the football, but that was bizarre. And then obviously as the first half comes to a close, I think it was like 23 or 24 minutes to 6. So yeah, Sam mentioned earlier, there's no doubt there was some deja vu going on there. Like, what in the heck? And I actually at halftime when I talked to the kids, I basically kind of got after them a little bit. I said, hey, listen, this is where you learn your lesson, right? If we learned anything from that Minot game, if that really stings like we think it stung, then we got to come out in the second half and move the ball down the field and get this thing back into our hands. And the difference was maybe at the end of the first half, we probably had a chance to at least go up 10-7, if not 14-7. And then all of a sudden you score to start the second half, it's 21-7, and you're feeling really good about things, which I don't think that's too much out of the box. That's a good football team. They're well coached. They play hard. They got a veteran group. We didn't expect to beat them by 40. I mean, that wasn't the case at all. I mentioned that earlier. We knew it was going to be a dogfight, and I think as the game wears on, typically that's where the team who's better, prepared for victory or whatever you want to say, is able to take advantage of some opportunities. And there's some key plays, obviously, that when you stack up one or two or three key plays on top of them, that's how you're able to put a little distance between yourself. And again, 35-14 was not indicative of what the whole game was, but I think it was indicative of how the second half went. We were able to get stops, put scores on the board, and then we got a little bit loose at the end and let them get down and score, which 6 or 7 plays, they went in a minute. A little disappointing, but at that point, you're up by 21. You're just trying to get the clock, run down. And I'm not a guy that's too worried about where we are in the stats and rankings and all that stuff. I'm more worried about the win and loss column, and whatever we have to do to get a win, that's kind of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, Coach. I don't know if you were listening to me during the halftime show, but I did mention, a couple things. Number one, it felt like the Cougars your defense was always in like third and short, and Concordia always had like third and short, and they were able to convert a lot of those in the first half. Second half, you did a much better job there. The second thing, I did eat 16 buffalo wings at halftime in about 5.5 minutes, and I felt like that really propelled you guys to that win. So.
Well, if I told you how many messages and texts I got at halftime from certain people, you probably wouldn't believe me, that are giving me advice and all that. I think sometimes maybe people who are close to me, my wife included, they're sending me text messages on my phone. Like, she sent me one at halftime this week where I checked my phone after the game, and at 2:30 she had texted me, they just came out of the locker room, they're fired up, ... And I'm like, I got home that night. I'm like, honey, I don't know if you think I'm like checking my phone or whatever. And I'm sure she'll be embarrassed because I'm bringing this up, but yeah, she's awesome. So, but no, I don't check my phone at halftime. I don't see what kind of messages, I don't. So usually I don't get that stuff till after the game. I shut my phone off before I take the field. I just like to focus on the game. But I really felt like at halftime, kind of a weird situation. Obviously it's 7-7, but you felt good about it. If I went through every scenario, you'd see about 5 or 6 third downs in a row where it was 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. That were a byproduct of giving up too much on second down. And the bigger issue was second down, where we had them 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, allowed them to get 5 or 6. Well, now it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. And then you get out of 4th and 1. I think they had a 4th down conversion on 4th and 1 they barely got. Again, other than the long run they had at the end of the first half, where we were playing kind of a prevent look and they had a 15-yard run, once again, I was pretty pleased with our ability to stop big play chunks. And I think when you see us getting big plays like the last 2 weeks and stopping big plays, even going back to the Minot game, you give yourself a chance to be successful.
Yeah, Coach. Well, Sam, go ahead and take us through the second half scoring summary here.
Yeah, so like Coach said, kind of fired up with that pep talk from his wife from that text, and was able to get the team to come out and score right away. So USF had the ball there right away in the second half. Quick scoring drive, less than 2 minutes, accumulated by a Dylan Runnigan 11-yard run. And then USF would score again on a Dean 8-yard run. Next thing you know, 7-7 game at half. It's 21-7 now. Concordia wouldn't quite go away, and they'd get one more touchdown after another long drive with a Richardson 12-yard run following a 73-yard drive. It's 21-14 heading into the fourth quarter. Coach, how are you feeling about that right there?
Well, feeling pretty good about our defense settling in a little bit and, making them earn it. And I guess if you look at it, they really had 2 drives in the game where they really put together some really nice drives and made some plays. And the second touchdown, we kind of helped them out with some penalties and whatnot. That probably wasn't a positive. We had a holding call. We had a face mask call, some of those type of things that certainly aren't positive. But in the last drive of the game, they had 7 plays in a minute and 10 seconds. And, again, that one's probably not as worrisome as, you're up by 21. You certainly have a different mindset, but really pleased with getting a turnover late. Had a big hit by Maloa Wells that forced that ball to pop up in the air, and Andy Henson snatched it out of the air. Maloa actually had a chance for 2 other interceptions. He had a really nice break on a corner route by the tight end early that would have really changed the complexion of the game early on. It hit off his fingers. And then another ball was going towards the trees in the FCA building where an over-the-shoulder catch he just came up short on. So, obviously he played really well, and it'd be a spoiler here, but deep consideration for the player of the game. But really proud of the kids and their energy. I thought we came out ready to go. I really do. And the first drive of the game, it's frustrating. You don't get off the field, right? But they didn't score, and then we forced a field goal. They missed, and so stats are a funny thing. You can have the ball all you want, but if you don't score points, it's kind of a moot point. So at the end of the day, we did what we needed to do, and it's a tough league. I think you look across again, not to keep going back to Alabama and South Carolina, and you look at all these different games. I watched Colorado, K-State, I watched Oregon and Ohio State, and man, it's tough to win. It's really hard to win, and so I'm appreciative of our kids' effort and happy to be 5-2.
Yeah, and only half the teams win every week, Coach. Hey, I was going to mention at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, Cam throws an interception. Concordia gets the ball back. They're down 1 score. They kind of drive the ball down the field a little bit on you at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and they attempt a field goal. You guys defense kind of stiffened up once they crossed midfield and held them to a field goal attempt, and that was no good. And I felt like that was kind of the turning point. And then after that, the Cougars kind of turned it on and closed out the game really well.
Yeah, and I think, we got to continue to take care of the football. Right before halftime, we threw a ball down the middle late. Probably could have had made a different decision, but I don't know. Sometimes you don't want to be kids. You don't want to overcoach kids to where it's kind of like a paralysis by analysis. You know what I mean? And we want them to play fast and free. We understand sometimes when you're asking them to play aggressively, you're going to turn the ball over sometimes. It's certainly not anything that we're excited about, but it's also not something that I'm going to bench a kid over because he's trying to make an aggressive play. Now, happens over and over again, and it's poor read and all that. But for example, the touchdown toss he tried to make before halftime, the safety was supposed to chase the corner route, and you see him take off chasing it, and all of a sudden he just stopped. Well, at that time, Cam had already put the ball in the air, and the kid comes back and gets a finger on it, and otherwise it would have been a great throw and catch and it's touchdown, and we're having a different tune at halftime. But so yeah, all in all, got to take care of the football. We didn't put the ball on the ground fumble wise, I don't think, and we got to win the turnover battle, which is, if we can get to the point where we dominate the turnover margin, then I really feel good about our football team. And right now I feel like we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot just a little bit. That's kind of allowing people to hang around a little bit.
All right, go ahead and wrap up this fourth quarter here for us, Sam.
Yeah, like Chad said, following the missed field goal, and USF would actually have a missed field goal of their own, and Concordia have another one. It was kind of something we joked about as fans, that there was not much wind at the Bob for once. And I don't know if that played with the kickers' heads, that it wasn't windy for the first time at the Bob probably in its history. But USF was, like Chad said, was able to put it away there. Runnigan ripping off a nice long, taking in a 25-yard pass from Dean. And then Christian Nash would have a 19-yard touchdown run as well. And then, like Coach said, CSP would tack one more on late as they were trying to score, get one quick. They weren't able to get the onside kick or anything. Didn't really make a huge difference final score with that Jalen Washington touchdown pass. But at the end of the day, got the dub and moving on, looking forward to Duluth.
And Coach, I did mention during the radio broadcast of the game, but Concordia coaches must have watched the Coup Coach cast previously this season, because when they did their little pop-up kick there at the end, their players did not go to where the ball was kicked to. And so it was just something that I noticed after our conversation earlier this season. So.
Well, let's not kid ourselves. I think the viewership is a little bit more widespread than maybe we want to give it credit for. I know there's a lot of people. I know our players watch because they scold me about giving away too many insider tips. So I got my board back here. Who knows? Maybe those plays back there are legit, and maybe they're not. I don't know. Maybe it's just for somebody to spend time on that is wasted time. Who knows? So, but yeah, we are. This is a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys do a great job. And I think the ability to kind of give feedback as far as, and trying to be honest about it, right? There's no script here. Trying to say, hey, listen, this is kind of why we thought this. And well, I'll tell you what, it's so easy to sit there on Monday morning and give feedback and all that stuff when you're not the guy making the decisions, because you're never wrong, right? And when you're in the moment, it's a lot different than being on the couch watching.
Right. Make sure you get Coach Ebert those tickets this coming week too. Next, we're going to go to our Coach's Clicker segment here. I just wanted to mention the video that we're going to show here is courtesy of the USF Athletic Department, the NSIC Network, And then I do have one play from our good friend Sam Tastad from Dakota News Now. Sam Dooyema, tell us a little bit about Sam Tastad.
Sam Tastad, good friend of mine, USF alumnus. He's been shooting local news for a while now after school, and he's always trying to get good shots of the coup. So always give him a shout out if you see him on the sideline. He does great work. So yeah, shout out Sam Tastad, representing the coup, always on Dakota News Now. So appreciate it, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. First play I had, it's actually Concordia's first play of the game. And I feel like this was a lot of what we saw. It was left 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of, first half, first quarter from Concordia. But on this one, they motioned a couple guys over here to the left side of the offense, the right side of the defense. Saw a couple great things, but you can just see how talented Jalen Richardson is here, the running back for Concordia on this play. Francis Kumi does an excellent job of driving the left tackle into the offensive backfield a little bit here. And then you're getting some penetration by your left defensive tackle. Is that Dawson Arabia up there? I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is a great example of what teams have been trying to do to us, right? This is a non-traditional formation where if you go back to the beginning, you've got a guard and a tackle, right, to the left side of the screen, and then everybody else to the right. And this team, Concordia, really was outside the box where they brought in extra offensive linemen. So sometimes you'd see them with 6 offensive linemen on the field, which traditionally you have 5, and just trying to kind of, we call it body guys up and try to move us off the ball. And, for what we do defensively, we're trying to take those 4 defensive linemen and work through the offense and kind of take away the inside running lane and then hopefully make the ball bounce to all of our speed on the perimeter. And so like Matt Gehring does a good job here, and you'll love this technique, Birger. We call that the splatter technique, where he actually just tries to splatter the blocker. And the idea is don't pick a side, just try to like a bug on a windshield and just go splatter that guy and see if you can't create, as you guys both know as offensive linemen, when there's bodies in your way, those big old elephants don't do very well when there's cars in the way. You know what I'm saying? And so what we're trying to do is just kind of clog it up and kind of muck it up and muddy it up so that the running back has to kind of cut back. If you can get the running back to stop his feet and either go backwards or have to really, really cut hard to go back inside, then we feel like we've stunted the flow of the play. And then hopefully we can run it down in the backside and give credit to the backside with Brennan Holt, who's another senior, number 5's done a nice job for us. And of course, Mike Steenbrotten does a good job here flowing back. And now you see the pursuit angles by the other purple guys there on about the 25-yard line. So, I wish there was more of a scientific answer to all this, but it's just muck it up, splatter the guy at the point of attack, and run it down.
Yeah, I mean, I love watching this kind of football, but unfortunately, I don't think our viewers are going to enjoy watching all 20 plays of 3-yard runs here or 2-yard runs. So next thing we'll do is we'll kind of speed it up a little bit and go to Cam Dean's first touchdown. This one was in the second quarter, about 4 minutes left, USF's third offensive possession. And I think it was third, maybe fourth. And you guys had a little bit of movement in the, alignment there, really tight set, but you have the 2 receivers down here to the bottom side of the screen.
Yep.
And I want to talk a little bit here. You got one offensive lineman, our good friend Ben Peterson pulls on this one. And I want to talk about how the Concordia defender kind of takes on this pull block here, if we could.
Yeah, so when the backside guard behind the play pulls around, we usually call it a power play. You're adding, again, it's just crazy because there's really not that much complexity to it. But what you're trying to do is they're trying to put a bear in between cougars, right? So every cougar you have, if you have 2 cougars butt to butt, that's a good thing for us. If there's not a bear in between 2 cougars, that's a problem. And so every time you pull guys around and wind them around to the front side, you're challenging the bears to maintain the bear cougar fit, right? And so when this happens here, you'll see number 4, and this is kind of the kiss of death, but number 4 for the Bears has got he's turned in sideways, okay? So what he's doing is he's trying to get inside of Ben, because if you look at that, there's Ben, there's a bear, there's another cougar locked up with a bear. Well, the reality of it is if they don't have another bear wide enough, you got a cougar with nobody else in between him and Cam. And now it's just a matter of where do these guys blocking on the perimeter put their heads? And so we call it the win side. So like Carter Slykehouse is blocking that guy at the foot of the cougar there about the 43-yard line. He's actually got his head on the inside, on the cougar side. You'd like to see him have his head on the other side so that he can keep his head between Cam and the defender. Well, Cam's just fast enough, though, that if he just can muddy it up and hang on to the guy long enough, let him go. And this one here, if you look down at the 25-yard line, we probably got away with one on a hold here because Christian Janis is grabbing the jersey at 22 there, if you rewind it just a little bit. And that's what I watch stuff like that, and I'm worried that we're going to get a holding call because at this point, right there, you see how he's grabbing him? So he's lost 22. And if you extend with a hand on that guy, we're lucky they didn't call this. And you'll see it right as it plays right there. The guy sells it a little bit. Now, a lot of times I'll complain about that, and the referee will say, well, it had no impact on the play. So there's a lot of discretion out there. It's a tough job to be an official, but, it goes both ways. And it's nice to have a quarterback who can run fast enough to outrun everybody.
Yeah, I didn't speed that up or anything. Cam was booking on that one. He was really
he can run,
Yep.
and it's funny because, when we're out there looking for a quarterback, you'd love to have a 6'3" guy who can stand in the pocket and see the field. And where we sometimes trade off, we get his speed, his athleticism, run the football, but sometimes he's just a little bit shorter, so he doesn't see through the pocket as well as you'd like. So, it's give and take. And the nice thing about Cam is he has the ability to really improve, and I think he's gotten better. And certainly is a guy that could have been up for player of the game, but his dynamic footwork and ability to run the football certainly makes this a more dynamic offense.
Yeah, the reigning NSIC player of the week offensively as well. And then one of the things that I loved on this play, Coach, is look at all the guys coming down to celebrate. This is great.
Well, that's really a tip of the cap to you and Sam, because it was brought up at Minot. And again, guys watch this show, and I brought it up in our team meeting that this is unacceptable. And Cam knows he can't do this without all those guys. And there's so many guys that do things. I think about that. There's 10 guys that had to do their job for one guy to be successful. And so let's recognize that. Let's celebrate together. I'm not big into, taunting. And I watch these college games and I see guys planting a flag in the middle of the stadium in the field. I mean, what are we doing, right? I mean, and I saw James Franklin from Penn State went and grabbed the flag. And so we don't do that here at Penn State, which I kind of appreciated. So spent a lot of time talking about celebrating as a team because you can't do it by yourself.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and pull up our next play. The next one that I have is right away in the second half. It seemed like offensively USF was a little bit stale there in the first half, couple 3-and-outs. And I feel like one of the things that kind of catapulted you a little bit offensively was hitting the tight ends. And so I put a tight end delay play in here. You got the two tight ends, Yankee and Leonard, up on the top side of the screen. And you can see Yankee blocks there for 2-3 seconds at the beginning of this play while the other receivers clear out the defenders. And then the linebackers drop, and look who's wide open right behind the offensive line here.
Yeah, this is a really good play design. If you go back to the beginning, we have the running back, Dylan Rudnigan. He sneaks out of the backfield. And a lot of times people will forget. And first things first, all this trading, shifting, the motions, we're doing that to challenge their eye discipline on defense, right? But you watch the tailback here, Dylan, behind the quarterback, he's going to sneak out of the backfield. And so really it's a pretty simple read. If the linebacker 35, do you see how the 35 was running to the middle of the field? If he works to the tight end, then Dylan's wide open. So it's a pretty simple read. So the quarterback's watching the linebacker. If he sits in the middle of the field looking for the tight end, then we throw it to Dylan. Well, he obviously saw Dylan, forgot about the tight end, and so really we're putting that guy in a bind. Everybody else on the field, I hate to say this, but they really don't matter. It's really that linebacker on the bottom. So it's a pretty easy read. And again, if he stays on the tight end in the middle of the field and we dump it to the running back on the sideline, if he jumps the running back down the sideline, then he just waits for the tight end to get open. And then it takes a lot of patience by Cam and the offensive line not to hold, because it does take a little bit of time for the tight end to sneak out. And now we got one of our 6'5", 250-pound kids running free in the secondary. And again, the physical nature. And Travis is a team captain. He doesn't catch as many footballs as Mark does. Mark does a lot of the pretty stuff out on the perimeter, and Travis he does a lot of the on the line blocking stuff, But it's really good to see Travis, who's a guy that has been around a long time, transferred in from North Dakota State. His brother is one of our defensive tackles, Preston. And so I know on the cast last week, I think I called him Tristan Yankee, which I apologize to the Yankee family. There's not a trifecta here. We don't have triplets. It's not, but we got Tristan and we got Preston. There's no Travis. There's no Tristan. We got Travis and we got Preston. There's no Tristan. But last week, and so classic Yankees, small town America guys, they don't even have their phones on. And I'm like, you guys didn't get my message. I apologize. And he's like, what were you talking about? Who's Tristan? I go, who's Travis? never mind. Just move on. So this week we'll explain a little clearer. But yeah, that was a great job by Travis, and did a really good job for us.
And the thing that I love doesn't get up and celebrate and say there's a huge first down or anything. Just flicks the ball back to the ref and goes back to the huddle, to get ready for the next play.
Yeah, and I'm just old school that way. I guess I just believe that now you say that, but if you would have watched me play in the mid-'90s with my 3 different signature celebrations, the totem pole, the lawnmower, right? And the samurai. If I broke one of those out, which maybe I will, maybe the bye week, I'll break out the old 3 celebrations. But I was all about celebrating. I was all about me. I hate to say that, but that was me. I was that guy. So I've transitioned in my age to being more of an old school throwback, celebrate with your teammate guy.
Speaking of old school throwback, I know all of our alumni listeners will appreciate a good tight end delay and get the tight ends. That's been a big part of the Cougar program for years. So
you're right. When I got hired, that came up with Looters. They asked about the offense. He said, "Don't worry, the tight end throwback's not going anywhere."
Yeah. We could list, Jeremy Gardner, Jeremy Clausen, John Sano. We could sit here and list like 20 different names of tight ends that have caught this play, over the past how many years. Scott LeBrun. I mean, just all the guys over the years, and it's great to have that still in the arsenal for the Cougars. All right, so this is the third quarter, 6:32 left, and Coach, I asked which plays you wanted, and this was the one that you brought up. So I'm going to put this one in here and let you talk us through the play.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing about this is that, every week we meet with the officials and the commissioner of our league and other head coaches, and we watch film and we try to talk about plays. You're not trying to catch anybody and say this is a bad call. You're just trying to learn the rules and be on the same page with the officials. And a couple weeks ago, they brought up a similar play like this. I think it was a Mankato guy blocking a Minot guy, and how he blocked the guy was legal versus just decleating the guy and a blindside block. So we talked about this. I showed the video to our team. And so this is an example. If you watch Dylan Rudd again, he goes out for a pass. Cam's going to scramble. And really the key becomes here down at the end of the play here. And so Dylan's got a decision to make. He can absolutely clean this guy's clock. You see his head just coming into the picture there. Or he can essentially just kind of box him out like a basketball player and shield him. And this is a big time play because, people don't notice this. If Dylan has his chest on that guy and he hits him and the kid doesn't see him coming, that's a penalty. So now you're talking about it was 3rd and goal. That's a 15-yard penalty, blindside block, yada, yada, yada. The ball's backed up. Who knows? But Dylan, and I'd like to think it's because we talked about it, right, and brought it up, but he's also a heady kid, a captain, a senior, and more importantly, doing the little things nobody notices to make a kid have success on his team. So when you talk about, Cam, great job, Cam. He toes the sideline, gets in the end zone. But, man, what a great job by Dylan shielding this kid off. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, and the video kind of cuts out there, so I do have the Dakota News Now footage of the same play. This is from our friend Sam Tastad, but here you can kind of see him boxing him out from this angle right here.
I mean, that's a great shot, Sammy. That's a great shot. Sam Tastad, appreciate that. It's a great video feed. I'd like to say maybe Cam's taking it all in. Let's hope he's not talking smack or whatever, but it's an emotional game. Like, I understand that too. But what a great job, and what a great job by getting the end zone.
Actually, I think at this point he was kind of like he stretched out with the ball for the pylon, and I think his ribs were a little bit hurting, and so I think he was actually grimacing in pain.
Yeah, well, let's hope it was that maybe, and not celebrating and calling himself out in attention. But
I was actually, if you look where the down marker is right here, I was actually standing right there, so I know he wasn't talking.
Wasn't showboating.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and vouch for Cam on this one. You can see me.
He was just letting out a prehistoric or a primal roar of approval. Maybe, I don't know what it was, but yeah. Either way, I mean, great effort by him, and Cam's tough kid. He does a great job getting the touchdown, but what a heads-up play by Runnigan.
Coach, I also just want to add, you've mentioned, and this has kind of been good insight, I feel like week to week, kind of what you say to officials on and off, and it's kind of been me from the stands when I can't hear it. I just want you to know my 2-year-old Josiah, he's all about giving those high fives at the end of the game. Well, we got down there early. Well, we actually were able to give the officials high fives. They came over and fist bumped him. So just know, Josiah's already working the officials for you. And so he'll be ready for the next home game at the Bob. He'll be like, hey, that kid was there again. I'll keep that in mind. So
those guys,
we're working on you, Coach. We're helping you out.
It's a thankless job. And you get to know these crews a little bit. And again, these Monday night calls that we have where you get a chance to hear their feedback and explain why they called it. Again, we're watching this back on replay and all that. You're calling it live. It's a little different scenario when you're calling it live.
Yeah, we'll throw one more play in here, Coach. Offensively, fourth quarter, you guys are driving to try to put the game away here. It's 21-14 at this point. Mark Leonard goes in motion, comes back out, and then for some reason they just leave him wide open out here in the over by the number, but about the 45-yard line.
Yeah, and again, the motion to start the play off, right? So a lot of people have a certain coverage based on what it starts off in. So we start off in a 3-receiver set, Mark being the third receiver here. So they probably had one check. You can see 27s talk about who he has. They bring the other corner out, right? And then right now it looks like when he goes back in motion, 13 gets back in the box, and he never really kind of comes back out and looks at Mark enough to take him. Probably assumes they're in a different coverage. And then obviously it just worked out. And you talk about somewhat being fortunate, right? So we just happen to have this route on when they happen to be in man. Did we know that? Maybe, but you never know for sure. And then you got to throw it and catch it. He throws it on time. And, we're fortunate. These Mark and Travis, both those guys have the ability to make plays in space. And that right there is, you talked about the field goal, whatever, that effort. This is maybe the play of the game right here, because at this point right now, it's over, right? You feel like you're going to at least wind the clock down and at least put them in a position the way the game had gone that they're going to be kind of crunched for time. And, and obviously it's awesome that we score. Who knew at this point we're going to score 2 more touchdowns yet?
I also appreciate Mark saying in bounds here, cutting back in. I don't know if that was intentional or he's just trying to miss tackle, but you're talking about running 4-minute type offense there. Yeah. That's a heads up play.
And we talk about that a lot, especially with the new 2-minute timeout, right? And so actually the way that we teach it is if there's more than 2 minutes left of the game, the clock stops momentarily to reset the chain, but it keeps running. If you're under 2 minutes, then if you go out of bounds, it stops. And so we're pretty, we rep that a lot as far as understanding the situation. We even talked about not scoring a touchdown, right? Sliding down before you cross the goal line. If there's really no reason to score a touchdown and give it back. But when, we scored the 28th point, it was kind of like one of those deals where you definitely want points then.
So Dylan Rundigan caught a big screen pass for a touchdown, and then Concordia gets the ball back and attempts to throw a pass, and Maloa Wells makes a big hit here right as the receiver catches, the ball, and it pops up in the air, and Andy Henson happens to be standing right there, and it goes in his hands, and he gets a 10-yard return.
Yeah, really good job by Maloa. He had his best game yet as a Cougar, and a guy that Coach Cap had been recruiting for a long time when he was at Central Washington. We recruited him when we got here. He had actually committed to Houston Baptist and FCS school. It didn't work out, and was still looking for a home. Ended up getting back in touch with them because of his previous relationship with Coach Cap. He believed in us and jumped on board and came out here from California. And, man, he's really developed and really helped our secondary depth. And this is just textbook. He gets his head out of the equation here, hits with his shoulder. Andy's right there, Johnny on the spot, and we're going the other way.
Yeah, and we'll mention it was statted incorrectly, but maybe the sports information department there at USF can fix that one. But because
Maloa on the sideline too, there, Coach. I see them all up.
Yeah, the fins up. It's I haven't got my mother-in-law on board. I got these showed up at my door the other day. Now my mother-in-law. So I got my wife, my mother-in-law. She sent me all this kind of stuff, and so she listens at my mom and my mother-in-law. They're 2 grandmas. I have to text the link to them because they can't figure it out otherwise. So I shoot the link for YouTube, and I'm telling you, man, this has become a statewide phenomenon.
Make sure to give us a follow on YouTube if you're doing that. We're going on Facebook Live now. We're getting big time here, Coach.
Yeah, but it's, we have a thing around here about the Sharks and the mottos of the Sharks, and guys make a big play that fins up. It's just it's fun, right? It's got to be fun, and if they're not enjoying it, then it's still a game, guys. There's a lot more things that are more important than the football piece in their college careers.
And then finally, Christian Nash here kind of closing the deal out after that.
Yeah, that was a nice adjustment our offensive guys made. They'd done a nice job of plugging the inside up, and so you saw Dylan Rundigan score similar to a play like this where we kind of poured up inside, and he kind of waits for about a count, and then he bounces it late right there. And our hope was when they engaged with the outside linebacker there, we'd be able to keep that block maintained, and then we just ran him off in man coverage. And, it's good for Christian. He's a kid that's been working hard, and he transferred from Northern Illinois. He's from Omaha, Nebraska. To see him and Bubba kind of shine a little bit was really positive because Bubba Tan had a big impact on the game as well.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and pop back over here then. Once again, thanks to the USF Athletic Department, NSIC Network, and Dakota News Now, Sam Tasted, for supplying the video for today. Let's go ahead and run through the statistics. Sam, you want to take us through the stats for this week?
Yeah, we'll wrap up CSP week here with our final stats. So USF putting together total yards 441 to Concordia's 393. Really pretty balanced, 225 yards through the air, 216 on the ground for the coup, compared to CSP's 267 through the air. And like we said, really doing a great job of shutting down Jalen Richardson with only 126 yards rushing. I think he was held to like 86 yards total at the day. Really clean game. We kind of joked about the officials, who we really do appreciate. I know I recognize some of those guys from my days out there on the field as well. But clean game between both teams there. Only 3 penalties for the Coup. 22 first downs, going just over 50% on third down. Key, and really getting 1 for 1 on fourth down as well. I'm really glad to see that efficiency and that time of possession, of course, favoring Concordia. I think a lot of that really heavy on the front half. But at the end of the day, we look at some of these individual stats. Cam Dean going 17 for 22, 225 yards, a touchdown. We did have that 1 pick, but he also had that big long run, really adding up for that 76 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Great day on the ground across the board. Dylan Rundigan, 10 carries, 42 yards and touchdown, but he also had those 3 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown. Christian Nash, 4 carries, 31 yards and a touchdown. Like we said, Bubba Tan also big part of kind of sealing the deal there at the end and getting it done on the ground. And we gave the shout out to the tight ends. Mark Leonard had 4 receptions for 85 yards as well. And statistics here on defense. Cade Morse, lead tackler with 7. Michael Stenbroten as well. Connor Aldrich, Matt Gehring. Some of your other leading tacklers, these guys here. Garrett Hoffman, Clay Scolo, and Maloa Wells, 4 total tackles, but also that 2 tackles for loss. He had the huge fumble hit. The stats, like we said, weren't quite right in the stat book there, but recovered by Andy Henson there with that pick and taking it the other way. Alec Maxim had 2 pass breakups. Again, Maloa Wells, seeing his names everywhere on defense. Love to see it with pass breakup. Cade Morris and Andy Henson with one of those as well.
Yeah, and
actually, it might have been a fumble. The more I think about it, maybe they ruled it a catch, and then he fumbled it, and Andy just caught it in the air. So I don't know. I guess you'd have to go figure that out. But that's kind of brings up an interesting question about that. If that's a fumble or if it was an interception.
They in the stats they called it a fumble, but I know on the radio we called it an interception, but it really depends on what is a catch, and this is like a deep philosophical question that I don't think we want to cover right now.
Well, hot dog a sandwich. I mean, these are the questions we can be asking during the bye week.
No, hot dog is not a sandwich, but these are the questions. Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. Coach, I did want to mention Alex Maxim, 2 pass breakups from his defensive end position. He did a really good job of getting his hands up in the passing lane there.
Yeah, and I think that one or two of those were both third downs, and I think those are big time. You knocked that one time. The guy was open in the flat, so it would have been a first down. So we're trying really hard to get our hands up, and that quarterback's a really talented sophomore. He's going to be a really good player, but if you can kind of knock him off schedule by knocking a few balls down, that always helps.
All right. Well, as we mentioned, big win for the University of Sioux Falls Cougars on Saturday, 35-21, improving the Cougars' record to 5-2 on the season and 4-2 in conference. Now, before we move on, we'll go ahead and give a little bit of love to our sponsor, Atomic Wings. Attention, USF Cougar fans. There's a new favorite spot for wings in Sioux Falls. Atomic Wings is open at 1502 East 69th Street in Sioux Falls, just north of the USF Stadium. Atomic Wings offers customers fresh, never frozen, natural, and hormone-free chicken wings, hand-tossed in 14 proprietary sauces, a classic menu, a welcome dining experience, and a commitment to quality. Come watch sports and enjoy wings and a cold one at our self-serve beer station. They also have Sunday NFL tickets. The menu includes traditional wings, boneless wings, chicken tenders, sandwiches, flatbreads, and salads. Also choose from waffle fries, onion rings, mac and cheese, jalapeno poppers, mozzarella sticks, tater tots, or sweet potato fries as a side. And don't forget the dessert. Deep fried Oreos are amazing. There's something for everyone in the family at Atomic Wings. You can order online at atomicwings.com, download the app, or come in. Located on 69th Street, just north of the USF Stadium. Perfect for pregame tailgates or postgame celebrations with friends and family. And real quick, Coach, I wanted to bring this up. See if I can get my video loaded here before we do the Atomic Player of the Game. But we did have a special guest appearance on Friday from our own Sam Dooyema at Atomic Wings. So Sam is no longer an Atomic Wings noob. He has been there before and enjoyed it. And so, Sam, give us the recap of Atomic Wings.
Atomic Wings is excellent. I'm kind of a wing connoisseur, I would say. Is if it comes down to a last meal, it's probably going to be a steak dinner or some sort of buffalo wing. And so, had me some traditional wings. Went with the Atomic sauce, just one under the hottest. I love my spicy wings, and they were large. I feel like other places have been kind of skimping on the wing size lately. And so excellent. Was able to join Chad. Tom Frederick joined us. It was really a bumping place. Coach, your wife was there. I mean, everybody was kind of in and out. Atomic Wings is really the place for the Cougars on Friday afternoons. It worked in my work schedule. I was glad I was able to make it, and we appreciate their support of the show. And yeah, I can't wait to get back.
I'll tell you what, I grabbed a sandwich from there yesterday, a chicken sandwich. I mean, the thing obviously was enormous. It was the largest chicken. I don't know what it is, a breast or tenderloin. I don't know what it was, but it was bigger than the bun. It was outstanding.
Yeah, I think my wife got a sandwich one time I took her, and the sandwich was as big as her head, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enormous.
They don't skimp around. They're
yeah. The portion sizes are the real deal there. So, yeah, we appreciate everyone over at Atomic Wings for the sponsorship and the partnership with the show. We are going to mention the Atomic Players of the Game. So, Sam, go ahead and lead us through the Atomic Players of the Game for this.
Yeah, thanks for that lead-in from Atomic Wings. And on offense, we listed up all the stats, but today our O-line getting a shout-out. Aiden DeVolder is our offensive Atomic Player of the Game. On defense, his name was everywhere, and he certainly deserved it. Maloa Wells and special teams, Adonis Hutchinson, taking the title this week. Coach, anything you want to add about our Atomic Players of the Game?
No, just we thought our offensive line did a much better job, and Aiden probably got that award more so from his improvement over the week. Had a kind of a little bit of a rough outing against Mankato and really stepped up and played really well. Was a dominant player, really getting better as the year goes on. I think Maloa speaks for himself. He really played a really good football game, showed a lot of physical tackles on the sideline. And then last but not least was Adonis. He had a couple of really nice kickoff returns. The one that really got us sparked was getting the ball out to midfield. Had great blocking, but even last week, Adonis again last week had a great return against Mankato, and so that's really helped our offense get some good field position. So all three of those guys did a great job, but a lot of contenders. We thought Ben Peterson, the O-line, played well. Cam played well. Mark Leonard played well. Bubba Tan, Christian Nash. There was a lot of guys we considered. Defensively, I thought Andy had a really good second half. I thought Michael Stembrotten really played well for filling in for Andy as a starter. And then up front, I thought our defensive line as a whole did a pretty solid job. But all in all, I thought Maloa stood out, and just proud of these guys. Keep working. And the crazy part is we're down to 4 games. Right, we're definitely in the back half of the season here, and 5 weeks with 4 games. We got a bye week coming up, but we're in the thick of it now, and we'll see what we can do this week against Duluth.
They always talk about how quickly the thing goes, but you don't realize it until it's almost over. I mean, goodness, 4 games left in the regular season.
Yeah, we're 5-2. I think a lot of other teams still have a bye to come. I know Mankato's got a bye this week. Last week was Bemidji. So, yeah, everyone's kind of getting through that bye week, and ours is unusual. We have a bye week and then 2 more games, so really late in the season. But, at the end of it, we'll see where we're at. But right now, getting ready for homecoming and the Bulldogs at Duluth coming down.
Absolutely. Well, we'll talk about that next. Coach, I did want to, before we move on, though, both Sam and I are offensive linemen, and so we both really appreciate seeing Aiden DeVolder win the offensive player of the game for this week. So during the game, I'm kind of in charge of rounding up the players to bring up for post-game interviews, and I was talking with Mark Leonard and Adam Mullen on the sidelines, and I was like, hey, who should I get? And they're like, Aiden DeVolder, and I was like, will he do a good job? And they're like, no, he'll probably rip your head off and give you 2-word answers. And so we decided. So nothing against Aiden, you were actually on the list of guys to do, but Ben Peterson went up and gave the post-game interview on the radio and did a great job there too. So great job by the Cougar offensive line on Saturday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and preview the next matchup this Saturday. USF will host Minnesota Duluth, the Bulldogs, Saturday, October 19th at Bob Young Field in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's homecoming for the Cougars, so there's going to be lots of festivities going on during the week. I know there's an alumni awards on Thursday night. There's a Hall of Fame banquet on Friday night. So lots going on during the week. And then Saturday, big football game, always kind of the pinnacle of homecoming week. Kickoff scheduled for 1:00 p.m. You can watch on the NSIC network or listen on 98.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. or KWSN.com. 12:30 pregame show with Tom Frederick, Tim Hyatt, and Chad Birger. Coach, what do we expect to see from Duluth? They're 3-3 on the season, 2-2 in the NSIC. They were picked to win the conference before the season, so kind of underachieve, or not really achieving where everyone thought they would. But what do we expect to see this week?
Yeah, well, they're such a good football program. The history there, Coach Weesey does a great job. He's been there a while. Obviously, he's got a great record there. They're probably a little bit uncomfortable being 3-3. That's not where they were picked. I think they've had a couple really close games. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think all 3 of their losses came on the last snap of the game. So Moorhead converted a 2-point conversion to win the game. Northern State kicked a field goal last week as time expired. And then I want to say the Augustana game, I'm not quite keeping it straight if they had a chance or Augie, but I think they maybe had a chance in the last play of the game that it was incomplete. So you're talking about a team that literally is 3 snaps away from being 6-0. And I think that's my message to our team. This is not your typical 3-3 football team. This is a football team that has every potential to be 6-0. And it's a realistic 6-0. Like you're talking about literally 3 plays at each game that cost them. The quarterback is extremely, extremely dynamic. Kyle Walljasper, he's about 6'1", 240, like a tailback playing quarterback. He throws the ball down the field to Sam Pitts, their tight end. The DeRocher kid, number 18, is a really good player. Number 11, the other kid is a really good explosive receiver, explosive kickoff return guy. Deshaun Ames, I think his name is. And, up front, they're big and physical on the offensive line. The tailback situation, they have a transfer from South Dakota State. They have a couple other guys. They kind of have a 3-man rotation at tailback. But the Walljasper kid, he is definitely the straw that stirs that drink. He is dynamic with the football in his hands. I think last week he ran for 140 and threw for 180 against Northern. So he dropped back maybe 35 times and took it and ran 15 or 20 of those 30. So, he's just a guy that makes them go. He will run you over in the secondary. He is not looking to hook slide. He's not looking to go out of bounds. He's one of the most physical quarterbacks I've ever had to defend against. So he's a handful. And then defensively, their trademark has always been pressure. I think they're somewhere around 25, 26 sacks on the year. Their school record is like 55 or something like that, and they're almost there with 6 games to go. So they are going to get after you. They are going to blitz. They're going to provide multiple fronts, and they're going to play man coverage in the back end. And, again, it's a heck of a challenge. It is. It's our homecoming. I don't know what that all plays into everything, but we're going to have our hands full. And if we want to get to 6-2 and kind of hang around the top of the league here, this is a game that we need to come out and be prepared to play and got to have a great week of practice. And for our kids to understand that we can't beat ourselves and we've got to make them earn everything they get.
Yeah, I was looking at there's some of their stats, last night and this morning, and they're impressive, and they've got some sneaky guys too. I think you mentioned Sam Pitts, their tight end, but that guy, he moves around all over the offense, and he does a lot of good things for them. I know Walljasper, you try to stop him, on the ground, and he'll beat you through the air, and so a lot of different things that they can do offensively, and then defensively, they're just so strong up front, like you mentioned. The sacks are just ridiculous there.
And it's funny, you look at the Northern game they played on Saturday, and again, I think they had 1 possession in the first quarter. I think they might have had 2 in the whole first half or something like that, 3. So I don't know what it is with all these teams trying to shorten the game, but you're not seeing as much up-tempo offenses as you've seen in the past. You're seeing more grinded-out, clock-oriented offenses, and so they're minimizing possessions. And so if you're only going to get 8, 9, 10 possessions a game, you have to be efficient. You have to get points. They drove down the field against Northern, missed a field goal to start the game off, and they ended up losing by field goal, right? But, they had Northern bottled up the second half, and, in one of those deals where, Northern made a great catch on 4th and 2 to keep the drive going, kick the field goal, and that was the ball game. So, it's not like they're giving up all these yards. It's not like they can't stop people. It's not like they're not scoring points. I think just sometimes finding that balance and that playing off each other, offense, defense, and special teams is a little bit tougher than you think. But knowing Coach Weesey and that program, the coaches they have in their program have all been there for a while. They have another former Cougar coach on their staff that's coming down here, like when Joe Ford came down. So we'll have that to deal with. So, they just a lot of excitement about the game. Obviously, we have 4 left. We have 2 home games left. So, this is an opportunity for us to play in front of our fans one more time. And before you know it, it'll be November, and then we'll see where we're at. But, great opportunity. Proud of our kids so far, but it doesn't get any easier, that's for sure.
Well, and as I mentioned, Coach, game time is scheduled for 1 p.m. on Saturday. 12:30 pregame show on KWSN. I recommend bringing out your Sony Walkman or whatever it is. Come out to the game. It's going to be gorgeous out there, fall weather. Listen, put the earbuds in, listen to Tom, Tim, and I call the action, and just sit there and enjoy. But one of the things I wanted to bring up, Coach, on third down. So when we're on defense and the offense has a third down, what is the appropriate way that a crowd should react to that?
Well, I mean, any football loving crowd fan knows it's about raising the roof, right? And getting the noise cranked up and making it loud and being proud and making it tough for those guys to hear the signals and all that stuff. And if we've got to pipe in fake music, so be it. Crowd, no, no offense. Just kidding there, Lynn. I don't want the commissioner calling me in here. But no, you want it to be loud and difficult. And, we were at Mankato. That crowd was loud enough. It was tough to yell. You're trying to ask coaches, you're trying to yell instruction and all that. And it's probably why I could never coach in the SEC. I mean, it's just too loud. I can't coach from the sideline, right? But no, all kidding aside, we want it to be loud. And when we have the ball, we want it to be quiet, obviously. But yeah, that's a huge home advantage. And I'm expecting a big crowd. Homecoming, we had a nice crowd on Saturday. It should be a nice, beautiful fall day, great tailgate atmosphere. And you would like to think that people will come out. I know we'll have a bunch of alums back. I'd love to see those alums. I'd love to get them around the program as much as possible. And, we had an alum, John Toon, come talk to the team last week, chief of police here in Sioux Falls. And so trying to get our alums involved and get people involved like yourselves. And I think that just gives our guys some perspective. And homecoming is such a special place, a special time. One of the things I say in recruiting is, some of these guys in the portal at 3 or 4 different schools, like, where do you go for your homecoming game? Like, I know people don't think about that, but to me, I went to South Dakota. I was there for 5 years, D-Days, right? If you go to South Dakota State, it's Hobo Days, right? We have Cougar Days, Viking Days. I mean, that's where you go back, and it's the one day you set aside on the calendar that if people are wondering when they should go back, we encourage them to come back. And I don't know that the opponent matters as much as the people getting together. But we have a great opponent this year, and should be a great football game and a chance for people to see two teams getting after it that are both clawing their way to try to stay in the race.
Yeah, and get loud on third down. We're looking forward to it on Saturday. Well, speaking of tailgate, the tailgate party will kind of kick off around 10:30, maybe a little earlier. I don't know. There's going to be food trucks out there. If you want to bring a grill and something to cook, you're welcome to do that. But the Sioux Football Legacy Association sponsors all of the home tailgates during the season. The CFLA's mission is to bring alumni, family, friends, and supporters together to help equip the USF football program with the resources necessary to continue its winning legacy. You can find out more information by going to www.coulegacy.com, or you can click on the QR code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Go check out the CFLA and see what they're all about, or stop by the tailgate party and ask for more information. You'll see all the flags and everything out there on Saturday. So make sure to come out. It's going to be a festive environment. I'm looking forward to it. Sam, bringing the family out?
Yeah, the family might have some prior obligations, but I was able to prioritize and put Sioux football at the top. And so that doesn't always happen. So you got to pick your battles. And I think I might have won this one. But, yeah, you talk about changes to the atmosphere getting loud on third down. I want to give a shout out to John Hart and the athletic department. I saw the new signage at the stadium look great. I saw the updates to the scoreboard on the outside, and I think they worked out some of their kinks they had in that home opener. Not that it was bad, but I think it's gotten even better, and excited to see that with a big crowd. I know the last few games, last few years for homecoming, it's been kind of fun to walk in late. And it's like, dang, I don't even know where I'm going to sit. The bottom was completely filled. So hope to keep that rolling, and especially support our Cougars right now, sitting at 5-2. Still got a lot to play for. Not out of anything yet, and we're looking forward to it, Coach.
Yeah, I am too. And I think based on last year, where we're at this year, I'm excited about where we're at. I'm excited about where we're headed. We have a long way to go. There's no doubt about that. But I think we all would agree that if you told us we'd be sitting here at 5-2 going in the back half of the season and a game out of first and knock off Mankato, we feel pretty positive where we're at. But again, we got to keep it going, right? That's the challenge. And how do you put last week behind us and get ready for Duluth and its homecoming distractions? And it's cool for me because I'm going to take part in some of those activities myself, especially the induction in the Hall of Fame. We have a former football player going into the Hall of Fame.
Braden Weeking.
Yep. He was a punter kicker, if I'm not mistaken, right? The all-time leading scorer, if I'm not mistaken. And he came out earlier this year to our can feed and actually broke the team down, right? Said it was the first time he ever broke down the team as a kicker punter. So I'm not sure how you guys looked at kickers punters back in the day, but we accept them all and allow them all to break down. But so I'm excited to kind of see his induction, and that helps me. It helps me understand the program and the culture. And we had a nice moment of silence for the Pepper family too in the pregame. That's a family that's near and dear to the program, and to recognize him, unfortunate passing of his wife, and that was, but it's just, I think to me those sad things happen, but it's nice to see the community come together and support the Pepper family. And both Matt and his daughter are chain gang. That's how I know them. They're chain gang members for us. And so, yeah, just all in all, it's such a great supportive community. And it's so, I feel really, really appreciative to be a part of it. And it's really exciting for myself, my family. And, you know, we joke about my wife and all that stuff, and my mother-in-law and my mom listening for the Coup cast, but that's what you want. You want people involved, and just really appreciate the support and looking forward to celebrating homecoming with hopefully a victory on Saturday.
Yeah, I was fortunate to go up at I'm on the sidelines too, and I was fortunate to go up to the Pepper family afterwards and just tell them I love them. And, that's at this point, that's all we can do. And so if you see them out and about, support them. But it's awesome to have the Coup family, all supporting each other. And if you're able to go out to any of the festivities this week, support, former Cougar kicker Braden Weeking, who actually, Coach, I don't know if you're aware of this, he missed his very first PAT, and then I think he made like 100 consecutive PATs, and then I think he missed number one, the one after that or something like that. But he had an incredible streak of kicking, and of course it was back when Sam was playing, and Sam is still adamant that the field goal in the 2010 championship game went in.
Why did you even mention that, Chad?
Sorry.
Come on. I had the best view too. I was on PAT field goal. That's my claim to fame. That I didn't start every year on the offensive line, but I did start every single snap for 4 years on PAT field goal. I was on a lot of those kicks of Braden, and if I don't know. I want to see that CBS Sports broadcast again. You've triggered me a little bit here, Chad. I can still see that football going inside of it, but
yeah, it's probably some media guy. Some media guy like one of you two out there going, he's made 100 straight. Oh no, 101 wide left. Jeez, oh man, it's always the media guy jinxing them.
Yeah, always the media jinx. All right, well that'll do it for this week's Coup Coach Cast. Thanks so much, Coach. Thanks, Sam. For everyone else, special thanks also to Tom Frederick, Tim Hyatt, Matt Witwicky, and the USF Athletic Department for all that they do for the program, all the help that they give to us. For Coach Jim Glogowski, for Sam Dooyema, I'm Chad Birger. Until next time, go Cougars.